to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Sensation Station Network. Radio to Atlanta.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, coming to you every Thursday at 1 p.m. on the Sensation Station Network, radio not dumbed down. You are getting ready to join a conversation with us called Modern Day Slavery. Today we're going to be talking to our men, and then we'll talk to our women, as well as family ties. If you are listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section. We'll read it out loud on the air, and we'll discuss it. If you are listening to us on TuneIn Radio and you want to text or call in a comment, it's 678-613-5857. So let's get down to this business of talking about human and sex trafficking in the world, not just in the U.S., but internationally as well. We're going to touch on that too, and we're going to touch on it in our own backyards right here in the state of Georgia. But first, I want to give the definition as to what human and sex trafficking is. It is a serious federal crime with penalties of up to imprisonment for life. Federal law defines severe forms of trafficking in persons as sex trafficking in which a commercial sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person included to perform such an act has not attained 18 years of age, or the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor or services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion for the purpose of subjection to involuntary servitude, peonage, debt, bondage, or slavery. So it covers a wide range, and a lot of times we have the misconception that it is just sex trafficking, and it is not. So, John, you and Andre are our experts here today for the men's side, and so, John, I know you have pulled some facts and some stuff up, so I'm going to have you go ahead and kick it off for our men.
Okay, so I was looking at the United States Department of Justice's site because they talked about suspected human trafficking over the last 7 years, and now it's actually increased. And here's a few highlights that the United States Department of Justice has said. About 8 in 10 of the suspected incidents in human trafficking were classified as sex trafficking, and about 1 in 10 were actually classified as labor trafficking.
Oh, wow.
And federal agencies said that they were more likely to lead labor trafficking investigations, 29%, than they were with sex trafficking investigations, which doesn't make sense. If it's 8 out of 10 is suspected to be sex trafficking, but the federal agencies were only looking at labor trafficking, the number seems to be a little bit skewed. It says more than half of the confirmed labor trafficking victims were 25 or older, but compared to only 13% of confirmed sex trafficking victims, 25 or older. Sex trafficking happens a lot with individuals under the age of 25,
Right.
which makes it a major federal problem.
Right.
And one of the things is also confirmed sex trafficking victims were more likely to be white, 26%, or black, 40%, compared to labor trafficking victims, who were more likely to be Hispanic or Asian. So I know that with the criminal activity, especially if we go to the Atlanta market, we talk about this as a convention city, a city with access to international air. A lot of people who are former criminals would then go to sex trafficking and exploiting young children because a lot of times they won't get caught. And,
Right.
it's a lot of money involved in that, in doing that. So the recidivism in Atlanta, at least, is really high. And now, because it's the underbelly of criminal activity, it's hard to convict a lot of individuals.
Well, I'm going to tell you that they said according to the U.S. Department of U.S. State Department, between 600 to 800,000 people are transported and exchanged through the state. And marinate and be like, wait a minute. And it's really in cities where there's international airport, where they have that high trafficking to come through. And it says 80% are female and half are children.
Wow.
But when you go back and you start talking about the men, and I think we had this conversation last night when we were discussing stuff, a lot of the men think, oh, that's just a problem for women and girls and maybe children. And it's not, because a lot of our men, as John said, you said Asian and Hispanics are labor. They usually get these guys because they either are trying to transport to a different country to get money or whatever for their families, but they don't get out of the bondage. But the crazy part is, I don't know if you saw it in yours, and I sent some stuff that it talked about a lot of the guys, you guys are sold or trafficked for human organs.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
You know, and the funny thing, you know, when you talk about conviction rates, I was looking at the National Conference of State Legislatures, and we talk about human trafficking laws. When you look at the conviction rates, they vary so much because each state can have a different definition about who is a trafficker,
Right.
and then the elements that are required to prove guilt. So what should make sense across the board is not it's not consistent with all the states that have laws, and that's just crazy.
And that's a great point you make, because when I looked at the Department of Justice, there are different divisions statewide.
Right.
It might be vice department here, it might be local detectives, it
Right.
might be this other agency, and it's all disparate.
Right.
So instead of being congruent,
Right there,
it's-
they
That's
have,
right.
yeah, they're all
That's
different.
right.
And then speaking on the men real quick, if I can just
go ahead.
so, and here's how it happens. So I pulled up how does labor trafficking actually happens. Here's how it happens. A person in Mexico or the Philippines, for example, finds out about an opportunity in the United States through a friend or relative. An employer is offering a great job that comes with a green card. So long as the immigrant pays thousands of dollars in fees and puts their family in debt. By the time the immigrant arrives in the United States, they find out that most of what they've been told is a lie.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of a green card, they receive a restrictive temporary work visa. And instead of being a nurse or being working in some field, they'll work as a domestic servant. Their passport and their work papers are locked away. They're not allowed to leave the house. Money is taken out of their paycheck for housing and food. And then the employers remind them that if they try to run away, that they'll make sure that they get deported. So cases like these are surprisingly common in the United States, and so that's why many people are affected by it.
You know, and it's really a shame that we don't talk about this more, and we're not combating or trying to get better laws to help our victims. But you guys stay tuned, because we got some more information to give you. You are listening to Destiny Talk Live, and I'm your host, Cherry G.
You think you can do this to me? I'm the man up in this piece.
Sensation Station Network.
From the University of Alabama, the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl, then prison. The remarkable story of Sherman Williams that you must read to believe. Crimson Cowboy, Peace Between the Lines, is the incredible journey of an NFL star continued road to redemption. You must get this book now at crimsoncowboy.com. crimsoncowboy.com.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
When it comes to saving money, don't act like a baby.
Goo goo gaga.
Be the boss and make a budget.
I'm the boss, baby.
You're not the boss of me.
I am the boss of you.
Are not.
M2.
Are not.
M2.
Need a little help?
Aren't you gonna do any work?
I'm very busy delegating.
Create a personalized savings plan
We can share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
and get other tools and tips at feedthepig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Sensation Station Network.
Say about that.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, along with my co-hosts, John Reed, Santrell Green, and Andre Tate. We are talking about modern-day slavery. If you're listening to us on Facebook and you want to comment and join the conversation, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section. We'll read it out loud on air, and then we'll discuss it. If you're listening to us on TuneIn Radio, go ahead and text or call your comment into 678-613-5857. Even if you're listening to us on Facebook and you want to call in, you can call in at 678-613-5857. Just before the break, we were talking to our men about the things that happen and how they're involved in human trafficking as well, and that it's not just a problem for women and children. Andre, I know you've been kind of silent on that end, and you've heard some of the facts that John read out there. Can you give us some of your insight or intake on what you heard?
I just think it was great what John was saying. You know, we all know that slavery was like, it showed like the ruthless side of humanity. But now it seems like that today the problem, it seems like the problem has returned only now. It's like the trade it's not in the open, but it's hidden. And it's a shame that you have people in the Philippines, Vietnam, and China, they come over here. They look for a better life. And the common denominator of all this human trafficking is that people are lured into this trap, and they're promised a better future. They want a better future for them. They want a better future for their family. And it's just a shame. And it's great that we are coming together today to do our part and to expose this thing, because this is a big money maker. And that's why it's kind of hush-hush. And you even have officials, people in the police department, different organizations that are participating and getting money under the table to help this thing prosper. And thank God that, we're here and other people. It's time to expose this. It's time to make a change, because like you said, now it is, we knew it was in China, we knew it was in the Philippines, but now it's right here. It's right here in America.
And you're right, because when we were talking about the millions, this industry for its human trafficking and sex trafficking is $150 billion industry.
Wow.
I said, and that to me is like, we've got people that are homeless, that are hungry, but we will enslave a person. And then I must put it here, I found out that the average slave only costs $90.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you getting sold for $90, and I think I saw on a report, and I think if Santrell had mentioned it, CNN did something in November, where they actually, and we don't know how they got their cameras in there, but they actually witnessed an auction of African men being auctioned off as slaves.
Yes.
And they were sold as, for $400.
Right. And here's another statistic. It says most confirmed human trafficking suspects were male. 81% of them were male. More than half of confirmed sex trafficking suspects were identified as black, while confirmed labor trafficking suspects were more likely to be Hispanic. It's a worldwide issue.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not just, before we used to think, oh, that's just something that happened over in foreign countries. No, the United States is a big part of that industry, and I think 35.5 billion here in the U.S.
Right.
That's dollars. That we're making off of this nonsense. And I want to take a big shout out to Lawrence Young, William Thomas, and Al Haskins for joining in. And guys, too, I want you, if you're wanting to tune into the conversation, please go ahead and put your comment out there. Also, we have the myth of what a sex trafficker is. Okay, so a lot of them think it's, the pimp with the flashy cars and all. No. The U.S. State Department has said that your pimp could be your brother, your uncle, your pastor.
That's right.
Your state official, the person sitting right next to you. You don't know who they are. And they said human sex trafficking is the most common form of modern day slavery.
Yes.
It said estimates place the number of its domestics and international victims in millions, mostly females and children enslaved in commercial sex industry for little or no money. They said that a lot of the guys, though, again, reiterating what John said, are laborers, or they're sold for their organs.
Right. And the funny thing, Sherry, like you and I were talking earlier, is that even though those statistics are astounding, they, I'm sure, are actually higher, because I remember watching a report where it's a gentleman who's in Mauritania. This is all that they ever knew. So if your mindset is not such that you understand that you are actually a slave of some sort, there are numbers out there that are not even being counted at all. So I'm sure that number is much higher, because if you don't know that you're a slave, like you said, why would you think that your father, your pastor, or think somebody close to you would make that may not even register with you? So there's more out there than even that astounding statistic.
Andre, I think you and I were talking, and I had mentioned the fact that I didn't realize that they lump this into human sex trafficking, but the problem with these daughters and sons being raped and molested by parents, or being sold off into sex, having sex with multiple people by their parents. And I know when we were talking about, because you do a lot of counseling and so forth because of the position you are in, that knowing that piece of knowledge now, that they consider this a federal crime as far as human sex trafficking. What does that mean when you found that out? What did that do? What did that mean to you?
Well, I mean, one of the things I have to really put on the alarm, and and let the people know exactly what's going on and how, even dealing with, parents, how they could protect their kids and how the kids can be protected from parents that are acting that particular way. Sometimes I was looking at just yesterday this missing Wisconsin teenager, and they believe that she was a victim of human trafficking. But the key thing in this is the person that was doing it or got her to do it, she knew the person. The person wasn't a stranger.
Right.
And the same thing happened to a friend of mine. She went over to Paris to model, and she couldn't speak their language, but she connected with a friend over there, and this is a person that she knew, and the person was talking in French to another guy, and basically what was happening in that particular situation, the girl that she knew was selling her to this guy. Wow. And she didn't know anything about it. But luckily, she was able to get away, and it just made me think about, even with, you have your parents, you want your kids to be so successful, you want them to be a model, and you just send them off somewhere by themselves. You have these girls that are gymnastics.
Oh, we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. It's a big thing out there. We want you guys to stay tuned. We're going to come back because we're going to have some more information, not just for our men, but for our women and families. We're going to give you some knowledge is power on how to recognize the signs of traffickers.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through, like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network.
Up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, along with my co-hosts, John Reed, Santrell G, and Andre Tate. We are talking about modern-day slavery. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about that it's not just an international problem, but it's also right here in the U.S. and in our backyards. If you are wanting to join into the conversation and you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section, and we'll read it out loud and discuss it on air. If you are listening to us on TuneIn Radio, you can text or call your comment into 678-613-5857. Before we get in and start talking about how this affects our women as well as our girls, I want to read one of our comments online from Al Haskin. It says, they do the same thing in third world countries seeking a better life in Kuwait, Saudi, and other Middle Eastern countries. Once the people get here, they take their passports. And Al, you're really speaking the truth, because that is one of the areas where it's a problem for internationally and bringing it through the international air terminals here in the United States. And Kawan Davis said, if human trafficking is one of the largest crimes in the international crime industry, right up there with drugs, if I'm not mistaken, with women and kids being the largest percentage of that, you would think we would put safeguards on websites, because they are meeting a lot of perpetrators of this crime via web and ticketing and tricking them into sex trafficking using dummy accounts or catfishing. And Kawan, you said a mouthful, because yes, it is the third largest criminal activity behind selling drugs and weapons. It's number 3.
And here's another point
wow.
that Heidi made. So Heidi said She said, in order to make a real dent in the problem, you have to attack the demand side, not just the suppliers.
Right, and that's where we're going at with this. And when I was doing my research for the women, I'm going to tell you what blew my mind. The problem isn't the men that are the perpetrators of trafficking. 60% are women.
That are doing the trafficking.
That are doing the trafficking.
Wow.
60% are women. They are the ones, it said, it shows the women at the helm. The United Nations said women are the majority traffickers in almost third of 155 nations.
Wow.
They said they are accounted for more than 60% of human trafficking convictions in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. And I'm going to let that marinate there for a minute. Because, you know, we are always looked at as the frail ones. We can't, but honey, we are riding this thing and leading it, like charging it like it ain't nobody's business.
They call them madams?
Yeah, they're madams. But the thing is, they said a lot of these women are either not as a human, and then, or they have either one been sex in the game themselves, they were victims of it and just caught on to the lifestyle, or they were called the bottoms. You know, and the bottoms are the women who have been in it the most, and they've gained the trust of the pimp or the person that's in charge, or whatever you want to say it, of them, and they're the ones that go out and handle the money and do the recruiting and the enforcement.
Right. And because we're the ones who, people at least suspect us. We're the nurturers, or supposedly. That's what our quote-unquote role is in society. So why would you suspect that we would take somebody's child and do that?
Oh, you know, it's crazy. And I posted a video online of a young lady that was in Paris, and that thing was happening to her, and she was smart enough to alert authorities about what they were trying to do, and they let her know, they were targeting your daughter, and they were going to find where y'all were at and take her. But here's what I want to say to my young ladies out there, that this thing is big and it's happening with them. You guys, you're posting half-naked pictures on Facebook.
Yes.
You're talking about how you want to get here, and I see some of these comments, especially on the beard gang comments and some others, where you see a nice-looking man, I want you, oh, I will be this and that. Okay, I'm letting you know there's perpetrators out there watching that, and they're targeting you.
That's right.
And here's another issue, because a lot of these young girls are 13, 14 years old who look like they're 17, 18, and 19 years old, and they're purposely trying to look like this to attract.
You know, even these young ladies, and that's right. That's what I was going to say. That they're looking at, I got to get all these likes. No, you don't want all the likes.
No.
And when you come back, I'm going to tell you why you don't want them and why you need to stay ahead of the game and not get caught up in the game. You are listening to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on the...
Go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He'd guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Hi, I'm Viola Davis. Did you know that 1 in 5 kids in America struggle with hunger? Growing up, I was one of those kids, but we can solve this. When we make breakfast happen for kids in our neighborhood, we have the power to end childhood hunger, create bigger, brighter school days, and healthier minds and bodies. Go to hungeris.org and lend your time or your voice.
We're hungry for more.
A message from the Albertsons Companies Foundation and the Entertainment Industry Foundation.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Sensation Station Network.
Say about that.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, along with my co-hosts, Santrell G, John Reed, and Andre Tate. We are talking about modern-day slavery. If you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section, and we'll read it out loud, and we'll discuss it. If you are listening to us on TuneIn Radio, you can text or call your comments into 678-613-5857. Just before the break, we were talking about women and how they're putting themselves at risk on social media sites, and young girls posing that they're older. Parents, we need to be a little bit more aware of what our children are doing and look at their Facebook pages, because I know some kids that I know personally that are out there on Facebook and they're not even 18 yet, and they've got I'm 18 or older. So you got to really be careful at what's going on. And we can't always expect Facebook or the authorities or everyone else to do a job that we have to help them in. So to my ladies, I want to let you guys know that they said the average range from people that are in the game, it is 19 years of age, 11 years old being the average.
Wow.
Okay, that's where they start. And they said, and I don't want you guys to get the misconception that runaways are the people that are victims from their families, but these are people who come from two-parent homes, great homes and houses. It's because they're lured either through social medias or through friends, you know, and posting. And I found out something that I read yesterday that really freaked me out, and I'm going to share this too. I like sharing pictures of my granddaughter. I did. Until one time I showed a picture of my granddaughter, and two people that I didn't even know shared it. Freaked me out. I was like lost, and I was like, yo, I gotta take this down. But I'm gonna tell you more about that. But we have a caller. Caller, welcome and thank you. Go ahead. State your name, please.
How you doing? This is Mr. Rose from the Water National Human Rights Organization.
Well, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, Gerald has an organization called New Order.
Okay.
And he's really involved with human rights.
Okay.
So he's a great subject matter.
So this is your arena. Can you just give our listeners a tip or something?
I can't say it's not my arena, but I'm very concerned because even in my hometown, human sex trafficking is bad in the church as well.
Wow. Where's your hometown?
One thing I speak my mind. I know there were some major pastors.
Wow.
3 major pastors in my hometown got caught with sexual and trafficking. And also about a couple of years ago, I was in Dallas, Texas on a business trip, and I was on a college campus. They said Dallas was I know you made a comment earlier that you was going to talk about Dallas, but Dallas, Texas is the #1 on human sex trafficking. So this is not my arena, but I am concerned about what's going on. It's something that I need to add on my agenda as far as our platform for my organization to address these issues like this. So I applaud you all for what you put out. I want to give a shout out to Jonathan Reed, my homeboy. Actually, he was my neighbor. He lived around the corner from me.
Yeah, we grew
up. So this is a small world. But I really applaud you all. And this is the first time I came on to the show. So I immediately, this is social media's fault, immediately shared your live video to my New Order family.
I really do appreciate that, and you're right. So since you brought it up, I'm going to put it out there. The top 5 countries within the United States that have the human trafficking problem, California is #1. The cities in California are San Diego, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Texas is #2, and it is Houston, Texas, and Dallas-Fort Worth. Florida is #3. with Miami being the heart area. Ohio is ranked #4. Okay. Yeah, and I think it said it was out in Toledo, if I'm not mistaken.
That's our hometown.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
In fact, that's what when Joe said.
Wow, that's our hometown. Toledo.
Oh yeah.
And the pastors were actually trafficking these young girls.
Yeah, it is there. New York is number 6, and you guys, Georgia, the state of Georgia ranks number 5, with Atlanta being the major hub.
Yep.
So you know you are right on the market. You are right on the mark there.
I do research, and like I said, we're so close to Canada as well.
Yes.
You know, we like 45 minutes from Detroit, but as far as the Michigan line, I know a lot of human sex trafficking goes up there as well that they bring down to my hometown, Toledo.
And Joe, that's a great point.
I knew we was in the top 5.
And that's a great point you say about Michigan. One of our listeners says, back in 2005, she became aware of human trafficking while traveling in Athens, Greece. Then in 2007 in Michigan. And she says, as a medical professional, some of us are trained to become suspicious of so-called family members who hover over what I refer to as vulnerable patients.
And you know, I want to put it out there. The rest of the top 10 are Nevada, New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, and Michigan. So those are those are the top 10 states that I just gave you that are a part of this. And I really do appreciate you calling in and sharing that information because and then posting it because we need to be aware, guys, and we need to stop this problem or either come up with solutions. And we want to thank you again for calling in.
We all in this together, ma'am. And if y'all want to come on my show, I have a show called Real Talk with New Order that we do every Saturday from 1 to 2. And I would love to have y'all come on our show, call in as well, because we all in this together.
All right, we will definitely think about that. You guys, we're talking about modern day slavery, and we don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stay tuned because this is information you need to know, you need to share, and we need to look out for our loved ones and our friends. So we're talking modern day slavery. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, long time no see. It's me, the Rock T-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on the vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Meet former Dallas Cowboy Sherman Williams as he makes his way through Atlanta to Arlington, Texas for the release of Crimson Cowboy, Peace Between the Lines. Don't miss your time to gain valuable insight on how to avoid the pitfalls of success. For appearance information, please go to info@palmerwilliamsgroup.org.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G. We are talking about modern day slavery. We've been giving tips out to our ladies and our men on recognizing signs who are victims and how do you set yourself up to be a potential victim. If you want to join the conversation and you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section. We'll read it out loud and discuss it on air. If you are listening to us at TuneIn Radio, go ahead and type or text your comment into 678-613-5857, or you can call in at that number. So, Andre, we're talking to our families right now. What are some of the things that you have researched and come up with that we need to give our families out there to be aware of what's going on?
First of all, we really need to be aware of. I'm thinking about our kids, their online friends. I think we mentioned Facebook. You got Instagram, because you have these traffickers. They sit. You know. Sometimes you have kids that they post, "Hey, I'm at the mall today. Meet me here. Meet me there," and they study. They study they study the internet and the Facebook, they study the Instagram and see exactly where your kids are going, because they realize that some of them are vulnerable and they're easy to persuade. And so it's so important as parents, as mothers and fathers, that we continue to show our kids unconditional love, continue to keep the lines of communication open, because that's one of the things that that the trafficker target. They target a kid that is upset about something, the runaway kid, the kid that feels like no one cares about them. They have no communication with the parents. They isolate themselves, and we need to step our game up and get more involved in knowing what's your passcode. And then sometimes the kids say, well, you're invading my privacy, but this is so much more than your privacy.
I will be invading privacy because you don't pay nothing here. You know what I'm saying?
There is no privacy.
And I am not your friend.
You know exactly.
And Andre, you make a great point, because these exploiters are looking for children, specifically those that are runaways, those who are wanting to be a part of something, those children who said that they are looking for love, but they're looking for love in the wrong places, those that are out on the streets, in the malls, unattended.
Right.
And so those things, exploiters, like you stated, they look for this. They study this.
And even when I was saying before the call had come in, when I had posted a picture about my granddaughter, and these two people that I don't even know shared it, I immediately took the picture down, and then I contacted them. And I was like, this is not what you need in your life right now. That probably was wrong, but I wanted them to know I see you, and we ain't playing it. But I stopped posting because when I was doing this research, and I'm glad I did it, and I stopped posting before then, and I just want to put out there to our parents. I know it's just something that is simple. We want to say happy birthday to our young ones. You want everybody to celebrate in, or you thought they were cute today, or you're just happy at a milestone. I want you to be careful with that, because I found out that traffickers are out there following these pages, looking for these kids, and what they're doing is pulling down photos from your Facebook pages or wherever you're posting them and creating an album showing that while they're falsifying documents like birth certificates and so forth to establish that these kids are there. So you got to be real careful at how you do that. We're talking about modern day slavery and perpetrators out there. So if you're listening, stay tuned. You're listening to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Uncle Dan? Mom? Dad? If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them, I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home. Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. This is the part of the show that we put out prayer requests from our listeners that send in them. We want to give, please keep the Angie and Joseph Garcia in prayer. They lost their cousin, Rafael Osanega Jr. He was 19 years old and has a 2-year-old daughter. The family has set up a GoFundMe account to help with funeral costs. So if you go to GoFundMe, The link is on our Destiny Talk Live Facebook page, and they are a part of our Cowboys Hitter family, so that's why I put it out there. And we also have the Allen family in Tangelo Park. Mr. Allen passed away. That's a family member to Maxine Woods. Please keep them in prayer. V. Ozuna, please keep her in prayer. Then also one of my friends, Matrix Smith, his Aunt Debbie passed away. They're laying her to rest on Saturday. We also want to pray for Lisa Marie Reed. Her grandmother is in ICU. Kyle Alexander Schaefer, his friend's Melissa's father passed away. And then the Johnson family to lay to rest Robert Scooter Johnson, and also pray for Anthony Price. And then we're also sending a prayer out to anyone out there that is experiencing some things in life that they just need someone to touch and agree with them on. So you're listening to Destiny Talk Live.
You use Tearless baby shampoo because it's gentle on your baby's eyes. You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You always test the bathwater to make sure it's not too hot. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm screen, even when he's embarrassed his friends will see. You do so much to keep your child safe, but are you using the right car seat for your child? Is your child facing the right way in the car seat? Is the seat too big or too small? How do you know when it's time to move your child into the next type of seat? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. That's safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
Finding best potatoes for French fries.
No!
Russet, fingerling, Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Brought to you by understood.org and the Ad Council.
To Atlanta.
Good answer.
Sensation Station Network.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live, and this segment of Knowledge is Power is sponsored by Urban Urbane Company. Remember to be thoughtful and live extraordinary. You can reach Urban Urbane Company at www.urbanurbane.com. So today we are doing our very best to make you aware of the magnitude of the human trafficking problem, not only in this country, but internationally. And one of the things that we want to do is to make you aware of how to prevent yourself from being a victim. That's one of the keys. So I want to share with you some preventative tips from the National Human Trafficking Resource Center that would help you whether you are in a relationship and or employment situation. Tips to show you they are red flags that this situation may develop into a human trafficking system. So have your pens and papers ready and jot some of these things down, if you will. Your partner or employer comes on very strongly and promises things that are too good. They promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky. You know that it's too good. The partner or employer expects that you will agree to the employment or the relationship on the spot, or they will otherwise threaten you that the opportunity will be lost. If you don't do it right now, it's over. You're going to lose it. It'll go on to somebody else. So it's that fear of you losing out on something. The partner or employee will deny you access to your rights. No, you can't go to the police. You can't go and look at this information at all. You will have, they'll display dangerous characteristics towards you. They may threaten you. They may be abusive, whether it be physically or verbally. Now, some general safety tips. I want you to trust your own judgment. If you feel in your gut that a way that a potential employer or a mate is coming on to you, stop. Don't go any further. Trust your gut because it's there for a reason, and go away from that situation. Make sure that you let a trusted friend or relative, if you are in a new relationship or if you're going to do new employment that may be out of the country or in another state, make sure that somebody knows where you are. Also, keep important phone numbers on you at all times. Make sure that you have contact information, friends, family, associates, that if you're in a hurry, if you are in any type of danger, that they can be reached out to. Make sure you also have your financial information, because a lot of times what these situations come up, they want to keep you from accessing your finances, because if you find yourself in a situation, you may need money to get out of it. They don't want you to access that. So make sure that you have your banking information in places where that relationship, they won't have any access to it at all. And lastly, if you think that you are in immediate danger, please, please, please call 911. Or if you want to report human trafficking or anything like that, it's 866-347-2423. That is actually to the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Now, the National Trafficking Hotline is 888-373-7888. You can also text HELP or info to Be Free, BEFREE, which is 233-733. And if you are hearing impaired, the TTY is 711.
The world is changing. And we are changed. Sensation Station Network. Radio of Dumbbell.
Slavery. If you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section. We'll read it out loud and discuss it on air. If you're listening to us in TuneIn Radio, go ahead and text or call your comment into 678-613-5857. I want to give a big shout out to Randall Cantu, Deanna Cuervo, and Julio Heredia for listening in.
And this segment of the show is being brought to you by Edith's Best Sauce. It's a high-quality, health-conscious, multi-purpose sauce that eliminates the need to utilize several condiments. We believe it's the AAA sauce, always amazing with anything. You can purchase your bottle on Amazon.com or on the website www.edithsbest.com. And let's go ahead and read one of our comments from one of our listeners on the subject today. And this comes from Charles Chanot. He says, hey, I'm enjoying the show. I have to say, as a father of a daughter who just turned 16, I feel, and this is my opinion, to protect not only her, but others, be it young girls to women. We as men have to teach them and share with them what guys will do and will say to lure them in. When my daughter was younger, I advised her on what really goes on out in the street, because I was out there when I was younger, and I've seen the setup and trap. Back then, it was more so to get them on the stroll and into the strip clubs. We can't sugarcoat things these days. We have to give them real knowledge so that they don't fall for the smooth talk and the mental play that they're going to face. Straight talk is what will assist and advising to be observant of everything and everyone, because most of these young girls and ladies are victim to mental mind play.
Wow, that was a lot. And I agree with him on that. Andre, let's go to you. What do you think about that?
I totally agree. Key thing he said, the mental part, and like I said, that I feel like that's the key, and that's what these traffickers are definitely looking for. They're looking for, because the young girls, the young boys, they grow up and they want to be seen, and they're vulnerable. They want everybody to like them. They want everybody to accept them, and that's what the trafficker do. He plays on the mental aspect of them, and it's so important, like he said, not to sugarcoat anything, but let them know exactly what's going on, what's happening. I think that is a great idea that he did with his kids.
I think so too. I mean, I was very transparent and upfront with mine. We talked about everything, you know, and a lot of parents thought that that was wrong, but it was important for me to do that because I needed them to. Statistics that I found, and I'm going to go to each one of you and get your take on it. The International Labor Organization estimates that there are 20.9 million victims of human trafficking globally. It says 68% of them are trapped in forced labor, 26% of them are children, and 55% are women and girls. So let's start with you, John. What's your take on that?
Victims can be, it's a wide range of variety of that these victims can be. Like we said before, exploiters will go after the young and the vulnerable. And in cases where women have been abused, young children are looking for love and, like we said, the wrong places, those are easy prey. So what happens, these exploiters look for things that are easy for them to then get them into their fold. Once you're in the fold, then it's hard to get out of the fold. So that's what I think is that people play on the weaknesses of others.
And, you know, and like we were saying before, it doesn't matter what your socioeconomic background is. You could come from a home of both parents, wealthy, middle class, whatever. But if these kids are so into the need, I got to be a model, and some of you parents set your kids up because you want them to be models, or in the show game, you're willing to fall in the hype. And I say do your research. That's why I applaud Tyra Banks' parents and mother and Beyonce's mother. They weren't having it. If you notice, you saw them, you saw their parents. Centrell, what I read on the statistics, give me what you think about that.
You know, it's amazing because I do agree with John and Andre, is that they are preyed on, their vulnerability is preyed on. And what brought to mind was, especially internationally, is that we forget that this can go on generationally. So where the mother and the child, there are families that whenever she has another child, that this child is actually born into slavery as well. They become the indentured servant of that family. So it is just something that people need to understand when they're in slavery. I think that's a key there, but it's just amazing. It's astounding the amount of people who are dealing with this.
You know, and this human trafficking and sex trafficking is a real serious thing. And again, like we said, it happens not only in other countries, but right here in the U.S. and in families and homes and some of our elected officials. When we come back from our break, I'm going to get Andre's take on those statistics, and then we're going to go into more information for you that are listening and watching us here. You are listening to Destiny Talk Live.
Station Network. You cannot let a fear of failure, or a fear of comparison, or a fear of judgment stop you from doing what things you want.
So let's talk about destiny. Destiny Talk.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, along with my co-hosts, John Reed, Centrell G, and Andre Tate. If you are just joining us, we are talking about modern-day slavery. If you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comments in the comment section, and we'll get back. We'll read it out loud and get back with you and have a discussion. If you are listening to us on TuneIn Radio and you want to text or call in a comment, you can do so at 678-613-5857. And I want to give a shout out to Antonio Chico Simpson for tuning in with us today. We're now back talking to our men. John, what are some other things that you found out there in this world of human trafficking that you could give to our men?
So once again, we're talking about modern human slavery, which is called human trafficking, right? It comes in several forms. The most common form is sex trafficking, as we know it, selling of men and women into prostitution. Labor trafficking is selling of men, women, and children into hard labor for which they receive little or no compensation. But other forms of trafficking we've touched on include child soldiering, you know, these child soldiers, war brides, and organ removal. And here's the key. Healthcare professionals play a critical role in finding the victims of human trafficking while they're still in captivity and in caring for them mentally and also physically. Because sometimes that healthcare professional is the first line of defense sometimes who get exposure to these people who have been exploited. So those working in the healthcare profession need to be educated as well. I know also for the city of Atlanta, the airport itself, they've educated their 60,000 employees on what to look for in terms of human trafficking, slavery, sex trafficking.
And, you know, we have to look for it just as ourselves. Andre, what do you think about some of that information John shared?
Well, it's so important because they said the airport are the hubs for human trafficking. And I looked up, you know, a couple of signs that, you know, people should be aware of. And it's like, number one, it says a traveler is not dressed appropriately for their route of travel. Number two, they have a tattoo with a barcode or the word daddy on it. It says many people have tattoo in itself. It's obvious, not an indicator, but traffickers or pimps feel they own their victims and have a barcode tattoo or a tattoo with daddy on them. So it claims that, hey, I own you. You're mine.
So it's like branding.
Wow.
They're branding them.
Exactly.
Wow.
So they're branding them. You know, they said number three, it's like they can't provide details of the departure location, the destination, or the flight information. Their communication seems script or they are inconsistency with their story. And they can't move frequently in an airport or on a plane, or they're being controlled, closely watched, or followed. And they said, look for all these particular signs and locate your authority, locate the local police department, and let them know, hey, I'm seeing a particular situation. I'm not for sure, but we definitely need to check into this.
Right.
And then one more is like they seem like they're high on drugs or they're drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Those key things, yeah.
You know, even if you think you're not sure, but if you even think, I'd rather you be safe than sorry.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't hurt to alert somebody. And then you mentioned earlier, John, where you were talking about you have to be careful because some of these doctors, when you go back into the organ trading and so forth, they're paid to be a part of to not say, you know, under the table. They're paid. And a lot of guys, you guys think it's a huge cartel thing, and it's really not. It's your, like we said, your pastors, your brothers, your sisters, and whatever. You know, we're talking about modern day slavery, the woes of it, what happens, and we're trying to make sure that everybody is aware of the signs and what to look for. You're listening to Destiny Talk Live.
You think you can do this to me? I'm the man up in this piece. Sensation Station Network.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, beyond differences in I Keep Safe, we're looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Oh, long time no see. It's me, the rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G. We are talking about modern-day slavery if you just joined us. If you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comments in the comment section. We'll read them out loud and we'll discuss them. If you're listening to us on TuneIn Radio and you want to be a part of the conversation, go ahead or text or call your comments into 678-613-5857. I want to give a big shout out to Kimmy Daniel, Anthony Rodriguez, Sylvia for listening and tuning in to us today. And we're still staying within the men's worth, talking about how men are victims of human sex trafficking or just human trafficking, period, that they aren't always the perpetrator. Now, you said in there that some of these young men, because I don't want you guys to get the misconception that men cannot be sold into prostitution, because they can. A lot of it that I read in, John, and you and Andre can correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw information where they said they target men who have alternate lifestyles, transgender men and so forth, that they are really a part of the victims. And, you know, when we went to break, Andre, was it you that said that they needed to be careful, officials, if they see them coming into the airport, if they're drunk or seem incoherent, that there may be signs of abuse there? Is that what you said?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And we really have to be, because this is a epidemic. This is major. There's a lot of money involved, and you see all of these victims that's being hurt. Their lives have been turned upside down, and we, as humans, we have to step up. I was reading another article about a police officer and his wife. They kept a couple of young ladies. They was trafficking these young ladies. So it's like you never know, and you just have to keep your eyes open and look for those particular signs when you're in the airport. And I guess also, you know, maybe later on in the show, I want to just give some different signs of a person that's in school.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
We'll definitely cover that.
And I would imagine, Andre, that with the alternative lifestyles that people have accepted these days over these last few years or so, and how not only prevalent but acceptable they are, those in those alternative lifestyles may become more victims of this sort of slavery, this sort of trafficking, this sort of inequities in terms of modern day slavery. Because now you've got an alternative lifestyle that you may not understand, and definitely the person who's exploiting you is like, hey, I can make a quick buck off of this one.
Right.
Well, I can tell you this story. When I used to be a probation officer, real quick, I had a guy that came in, and I go to the lobby, and I see this guy with a wig on, and I come back to him. I said, "Hey, is that her?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "That's not a her. That's a guy." He said, "I know." And he said, "I'm caught up in this lifestyle." I said, "Just get away." And he said, "You see this scar that's crossed my forehead all the way down to my chin?" I said, "Yeah. The last time I tried to leave, that's what happened to me."
Wow.
They get violent. But yeah.
So one of our listeners, Charles Chenault, sorry, Charles, for messing up your last name, and I know it too, says another sign to look for when young using women or men to follow them into the restroom and then drug them with stuff on a tissue or a rag, and then they come out of the restroom and the party looks like they are sick, and they walk them to another way in waiting in a car, etc. And that is true. That was another thing that they said out there that you have to be careful of when you're going out there. So a big thing is, guys, you're not vulnerable. I mean, you're not invulnerable, I guess is the word. You can be susceptible to being kidnapped, to being sold into this lifestyle, no matter who you are or where you live.
And we become so accustomed to thinking it's an older man, or an older lady that is soliciting, but sometimes they train these children or teenagers, right? So I said you then have, because then you have a relationship.
What should they do?
I reach out to somebody that's older that you trust. And if you don't feel comfortable, pay attention to that. So if you feel like you're being approached inappropriately, or you have access to, of course you have your cell phone, as everybody has it now, and you feel threatened, if you will, contact somebody that you actually really trust. And don't just think too, though, that being a male that you can't be forced into some sort of domestic labor. agriculture is the big one, farming, but it's also in other industries as well. Construction, restaurants.
They're very savvy now.
Right, exactly.
It's very savvy.
So once again, my advice is to, reach out to somebody that you feel comfortable with, but pay attention to those warning signs, those bells that you have in your mind.
What about you, Andre?
I totally agree with John. I would definitely encourage them to look for somebody that they feel comfortable with, that they can really trust and confide in. A lot of times as men, we want to, it's hard for us sometimes to show emotions. We want to hold things in, and sometimes it's hard for us to communicate. But when you're in a particular situation like that, you need to get to somebody that you can really trust and depend on, and someone that can look out for your back.
When I was reading some of these articles and stuff, and they were talking about our men that have alternate lifestyles, and in our or transgenders, and I was reading that they go for those ones that are really just, I'm out here bold and I want people to know that I have a different lifestyle. I'm proud. I'm not telling you not to be proud, but I'm telling you to be careful at how you display it. Some being extra about who I'm this and that, and just take it to a grand scale. I need you to pull it back some, because you are targeting yourselves. You're putting a target on your back to say, hey, I'm vulnerable right now. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. No, by no means I'm not saying be yourself, but I'm just saying be careful at how you display who you are.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
JB.
$1 a month at a real gym. For more info, go to facebook.com/Jeans Body Tech.
We're more connected than ever before. 90% of America's students use some form of social media, but not all of it's used in a good way. Hurtful posts online are leading to social isolation for many. Psychologists say it's bullying in a brand new way. Well, Beyond Differences and I Keep Safe are looking to change that with ideas for students, their parents, and even teachers. Take the pledge to be kind online and learn more at wearekindonline.com.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He'd guide us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Deliberate dumbing down. Dumb down society.
Deliberate dumbing down of America.
Dumb down public. Why would they do this?
Sensation Station Network. Radio not dumbed down.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G, and today we're talking about modern-day slavery. If you're listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comments in the comment section. We'll read it out on air, and then we'll discuss it. If you're listening to us on TuneIn Radio, you could go ahead and text or call in your comment at 678-613-5857. This segment of the show is sponsored by Simply Tailor, New World Street Style times Old World Elegance without borders. Simply Tailor represents the simple innocence of children. You can visit them at www.simplytailorkids.com. For a limited time only, Destiny Talk listeners will receive 10% discount on purchases when you subscribe to the Simply Tailor site. Simply forward a copy of your subscription confirmation to destinytalklive@gmail.com to redeem your code. This offer is good until January 31st or while supplies last. We were talking about how we need to pay attention to the signs that are happening when it comes down to human trafficking, and that men aren't the only ones vulnerable. Excuse me, I'm having tongue-tied today. But we also found out that women aren't that vulnerable either, that we are one of the leading people that are traffickers. Mm-hmm. We're the ones who are out there recruiting and doing certain things. But I also want to give some tips to our ladies that are out there on these social media platforms, you know, expressing everything about themselves and logging where you are and letting people know where you are. Letting the close loved ones, you know, where you are and where you're going. Mm-hmm. But when you're out there and you're, like I've seen posts where girls are at clubs and they lit and I'm at such and such and I'm toe up and come on out here. Yeah. Guess what? You're telling whoever that person is that's out there trolling probably your page or any pages to find victims where to find you. That's right. You know, look at all these women that are coming up missing. You see these tapes, or some of them end up dying. You know, you got to be real careful. And when you're going to foreign countries, and I'm guilty of this, and I told Santrell, and I think I was talking to my kids when I was doing this research, I used to go everywhere by myself. You know, if I wanted to go to the games, I'd go to Texas all the time, Dallas, by myself. I was in San Diego and San Francisco as well as Los Angeles by myself. And I just didn't realize that I could have been a victim. I didn't know. Mm-hmm. You know, we have to be careful. So when you're out there posting these risque pictures of yourself, you're making suggestive comments to people you don't know. You just saw a pretty face or a nice body, and you're making suggestive comments. You don't know who you're making them to. So you have to be careful.
Comments in the beard game.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I've seen some that just really just blew my mind. And I was like, wow. You know, even the one where they did with the guy that was in prison, and all these girls were, oh, yeah, he said that. No, I need you to calm down. That's just not right.
Yeah, we've got to stop living out loud on social media.
It's not your friend.
It not only, it impacts so many areas of our lives. Stop living out loud on social media.
Yeah, there's just some things you don't want to do. Andre, I know in the type of work that you are in, that you do, you come across a lot of women that you counsel. Like you said, you had one that was a friend that almost got caught up in this game. What are some of the things that you see that our women are doing, or they talk to you about, that you could kind of share with our listeners and help them recognize certain behaviors or things that they might need to get rid of, not do at all, or if they see it happening in others, how to help them change what they're doing?
One thing you guys really covered it, going back to social media. When we post things on there, post our location, post where we're going to be, different things like that. And we have to be careful. You know, you have some single women, you know, they get into this dating game, and they post stuff, how they're dressed, and you get a guy that will text them or call them or whatever, and they make arrangements to meet them, which is not good. You have a lot of young women that do that. They meet guys online and meet up places, and that's how one of the ways the traffickers get access to them. And we mentioned about the airport is one of the hubs. So that they come into town, they meet you, they take you to the airport, they threaten you, and they get you out of state so fast you don't even realize you're gone. And so we have to really educate ourselves on on what to look for and how we conduct ourselves in every situation on social media and also in public.
Right.
Be aware of things around us. Yes.
You have to, you know, and it reminds me of the movie Taken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, even though it was dramatized that this man could tell somebody's voice and, you know, he could do all this stuff and he tracked down, I'm going to tell you right now, that's rare. Very rare. But, you know, he didn't really want the daughter to go to the foreign country, right? To go with her friend. But the mother wasn't even honest with him about what the daughter's intentions were, you know. And here she is in this country, and they got this girl, the friend that she ended up with, they both got taken, but she ended up dying because of the drug overdose, but you know, he found his daughter. But the thing, what I'm trying to say in bringing that movie up is there was all kind of things wrong with that. Don't be lying about where you're going. That's right. And you know, and trying to help someone get out to do whatever they want to do. Be honest about that thing. And if you're if you're going to a foreign country or you're going out hanging out or whatever, and ladies, you're sending your children, make sure you know everything that's going on. I personally am not going to be sending my kids overseas with nobody. If I'm not going, they ain't going.
That's right.
You know, and then if you're traveling out and you don't know somebody and you're sharing Uber rides with them or just jumping in cabs with them, don't do that either. You don't know who that person is. It could be set up. It could be set up for you to do that. And one of our listeners says, Sexy Butler says, some buy the kids from mothers that are facing poverty. And you are absolutely right. Absolutely right. All of these children that are going through, like these fathers that are molesting their daughters and having babies with them and teaching them to have sex with their family members or whatever, that's a part of human trafficking. You know, and some of these people are breeding. And John, you brought up something about these parents that was in the news.
Yeah.
With how many kids was it?
So it was 13 kids, and this was in the news this week, where one of the daughters, who was 17 years old, actually escaped from the house, used a cell phone to then call authorities. Authorities went back and found deplorable conditions where the other 12 kids in ages from 2 to 29 were being shackled, locked up, chained to the beds, dark rooms, filthy rooms, and this was happening as a result of the parents doing this. And so, you know, my question was, isn't that a form of slavery as well?
Yeah.
Where the parents are now or, you know, we said that it's environment.
Right. We had a caller. Yeah.
That was shocking.
Yeah. And, you know, when you don't really understand those are signs too that can indicate that they're in a part of being in some type of trafficking or being sold into prostitution. And I just want to make sure that our ladies understand it's important that you take better care of yourselves. Don't rush to be grown if you're not grown. Don't rush. You got time.
That's right.
And here's another tip. You know how people, like we were talking about, a lot of women will post where they're at. They're at this club, or they're at, you know, this location, or they're in this country. I have a friend that she delays it like 2 days. So when she posted, hey, I'm in San Francisco, she's right back home.
Right.
And so, you know, as a tip, delay your post.
That's right.
Right.
If somebody's really watching you, right? Because then they don't know.
You know, and I had to, you know, and you have to curtail it down because, like I said, you would put posts out there, especially myself, and you guys know it because I show you some of the comments that I get. I had to be like, hold up, let me back up, because I just don't need anybody showing up or following me or wherever. Nobody, and people that have known me, you really don't even know where I live. If you get to my house or my place, you really close to me. I really trust you because I just don't tell people where I live because I'm of that problem. I've been stalked before, and it's not a fun thing. It's not a fun thing. But ladies, I need you to take better care about yourself. Understand your surroundings. Know what's going on around you, and make sure that you have a code, an honor code amongst your friends and families, and make sure you trust the people you're with.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And lead the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Meet former Dallas Cowboy Sherman Williams as he makes his way through Atlanta to Arlington, Texas for the release of Crimson Cowboy, Peace Between the Lines. Don't miss your time to gain valuable insight on how to avoid the pitfalls of success. For appearance information, please go to info@palmerwilliamsgroup.org.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me. Whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
When it comes to saving money, don't act like a baby.
Goo goo gaga.
Be the boss and make a budget.
I'm the boss, baby.
You're not the boss of me.
I am the boss of you.
Are not.
M2.
Are not.
M2.
Need a little help?
Aren't you going to do any work?
I'm very busy delegating.
Create a personalized savings plan.
We can share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
And get other tools and tips at feedthepig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. At this part of the show, we give out birthday shout-outs to our New Year's babies, as I call them, everyone born in January. I want to give a big shout-out to Matthew Lennox, one of our hard hitters in Dallas, Texas. Henri Smoke of Orangeburg, South Carolina. Military vet, affectionately we call him that, but his name is Tark Mills out of Orlando, Florida. Chris Dukes of Louisville, Kentucky. Ray Kerr of Utah. Johnny Fuller of Mount Holly, North Carolina. Anna Feliciano of Orlando, and also to our former First Lady, Michelle Obama. I know she probably isn't listening, but happy birthday, you guys. Be safe and enjoy your day.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And lead the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay. Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Uncle Dan?
Mom? Dad?
If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them.
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside. Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G. Today we are talking to you about modern-day slavery. If you are listening to us on Facebook, go ahead and type your comment in the comment section, and we'll read it out on air and discuss it online. If you are listening to us on TuneIn Radio and you want to text or call in your comment, it's 678-613-5857. We've been talking to our men and our ladies about human trafficking and sex trafficking. Now we're circling back around and we're going to talk some more information about our families. So, Andre, you had some more information you wanted to share with our families and then give some tips to our school officials?
Yes, I want to definitely. In spotting a kid that's being involved in trafficking. It says he has unexplained absences from school for a period of time, demonstrates an inability to attend school on a regular basis. So he chronically runs away from home. They make reference to frequent travel to other cities. They exhibit bruises or other physical trauma. They have withdrawn behavior. They're depression or fear. And one of the things that I was dealt with, sometimes we've all been guilty of looking at somebody and say, they are so crazy. What's wrong with them? And sometimes we need to just invite ourselves to find out why they act a certain way, because it could be this right here. Why a person is acting distant, why a person is acting depressed. And that's one of the things I found out with one of my friends, that, she was acting distant, we call it, stuck up. But the reason why she was acting that way, she was guarding herself because of the trauma that happened to her, the trafficking that she was going through. So we need to not use our judgment on them and try to find out exactly what's going on. And another couple of things are they're hungry, they're malnourished, inappropriate dressing. And then I said before about show signs of drug addiction. They come to school all the time. It's like they want to drown out the pain, dull the pain by using the drugs, by drinking. And those are some of the things that I feel like are very crucial and looking for in the school systems, not only just for the teachers, but also for the students to look for those things in other students and their fellow students.
Right, because we have become so desensitized by anything that happens with anyone, and I'm not blaming it on the music or the movies or the film, but they glorify some of this action that are taken, because I don't know how many videos I see where the women are displayed as just items. Sexually, and no respect, and we're called out our names, but we get excited about that, and then we want to be video vixens. That's not cute. And then in the movies, you see them doing things not only to men, but to women and to children, and we'll still acknowledge it. So I think those type of things have made it desensitized us to where we don't care. It's not that we don't care, but it's just like, it's just normal. And then some of us don't know how to depict or separate fact from fiction.
Right. And Andre, you made a great point in terms of the school administrators and the school systems need to be cognizant of these signs. But then I also say, what about those in our neighborhood? We were talking earlier about these 12 kids, right? So they were homeschooled. So they weren't even in the school systems. And then what happens is a lot of neighbors said, we never even saw them. We saw maybe one or two out over the period of years. So even the neighbors can recognize certain signs if they seem to be abnormal. For instance, you don't never see, it's 13 kids, you don't never see them. Well, and if they're being homeschooled, there still should be checks and balances by the agency, the government agency that licenses homeschools.
Well, let's go to Miss Santrell, because Santrell homeschooled her children. So you do have some type of things that govern what you do and so forth, right?
Right. And see, mine is a little bit different because it's not your typical homeschool where you have to actually purchase the curriculum and you do the teaching yourself. Mine is everything is in line with the state of Georgia. And yes, we have attendance and things like that we as the learning care coaches, we have to submit attendance. I am the attendance lady for my daughter who's in her senior year. And they do look back that, hey, what's going on here? You haven't input your attendance. Where this family, when you're talking about your typical homeschool, you surprisingly, because I know quite a few families who have done homeschooling where they have purchased the curriculum and they've taught the children, surprisingly, a lot of states, all you have to do is submit monthly or quarterly reports. That is the end of it all. They don't necessarily have to see you or whatever. You can, it's up to you to be a part of different organizations that other parents may be a part of, but there are not a lot of strict rules. So it's not, on one hand, you think it would be strange that no one saw them, but it's not, because there's not a lot of rules and regulations behind homeschooling where you have to actually appear and things like that. You don't have to submit as much documentation as you think you would. But to your point, Andre, because I saw also interviews with the neighbors, and I saw one that says, you know what? Something did seem strange, but I didn't want to say anything. Like you said, 13 young people who you don't see at all, really. There's something wrong. And as a neighbor, you know what? Again, it's that gut. If you feel like something is wrong, check it out, because you can actually just submit a wellness check and they would never know that you are the one who asked for it to happen.
Well, you know, they've seen this lady pregnant 13 times.
Right.
Okay. They seen the baby walk in that house with her when she came back. But it goes back to me saying that we have become desensitized.
Yes.
We don't want to get involved. It's none of our business, yada, 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 yada. But we need to make it our business.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that we are our brother and sister's keepers, because we don't get excited about it until it happens to us directly. We need to change that. You're listening to Destiny Talk Live.
I hear Destiny calling me. Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
From the University of Alabama, the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl, then prison. The remarkable story of Sherman Williams that you must read to believe. Crimson Cowboy, Peace Between the Lines, is the incredible journey of an NFL star continued road to redemption. You must get this book now at crimsoncowboy.com. crimsoncowboy.com.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is big business. This is the American way.
Station Network.
See ya.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G. Today we are talking about modern day slavery. If you are listening to us on Facebook and you want to comment or join the conversation, go ahead and type your comments in the comment section. We'll read it out on air and then we'll discuss it. If you are listening to us on TuneIn Radio and you want to join the conversation, you can text or call your comment into 678-613-5857. You know, we've been telling and giving a lot of information, and we don't really want to overwhelm you all at once, because this is something that we can't just cover in just 2 hours. This is something that we've got to start the conversation, and then we've got to get together and figure out how we can come together as a cohesive unit and combat this thing in human trafficking and sex trafficking. It just blew my mind, and I'm going to post up on our page that video from CNN where you actually see these men on auction blocks being auctioned off and for $400. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the average cost of a slave is $90. You know, a lot of us want to believe that when Lincoln abolished slavery, then that all that went away, that slavery went away, that we didn't have any more issues. But when I'm talking about slavery here, it's not just affecting African American people. It's affecting everyone. Whether you are in a middle class family, from Asia, from Europe, it doesn't matter where you're from and what your socioeconomic background is, it affects you. So we need to figure out how can we come together and make this thing, expose it more, and put some dent in that $150 billion industry. You know, Andre, when I had mentioned that earlier about the $150 billion, it just blew my mind at some of the things that we talk about and that we have here, and all these children that are out there that are homeless, don't have homes, or people living in poverty. What did that thought here in those figures of a $150 billion industry do for you?
What it does for me is we really need to, and all of us, we really need to, I would say, step up our game, because this thing is not going anywhere no time soon. And because one of the major things, it's people, it's all about money, and people love money, and they see this is a big money maker. But we're gonna have to, I mean, and I'll start with Andre first. Andre got to start stepping up and getting involved in different things to help curtail this and bring this thing down, because this is a giant monster, but it definitely can come down. But we have to do our part.
You're exactly right. We all have to join together. Sandra, what about you?
You know, first I want to say that this part of the show has been brought to you by Urbane Company, where they want you to remember to be thoughtful and live extraordinary. You can reach them at www.urbanurbane.com. And I agree with Andre. My first thought was, I believe these numbers to be much bigger than what we see, but that it takes each one of us to make others aware. My niece, as I've mentioned before, she is a teacher at an all-girls charter school here in the Atlanta area, and this is information that I want her to be fully aware of, so that she can have a more of a lookout for her young ladies that are in the classroom. But it's about education, 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 and not being afraid to say something when it just seems like something is not right.
Yeah, we have to get involved. John, what about you?
I know for me, just to be cognizant of the warning signs.
Yeah.
Because, you know, having this discussion, it seems like the warning signs we should be cognizant of, but a lot of times we're not. Like you said, we become desensitized. So I wouldn't even look at things in the past. Why is this individual acting a certain way? Why do they maintain eye contact or not? Why aren't they maintaining eye contact? You see things that you really probably need to be cognizant of. And for me, it's being able to recognize what those warning signs are. And then how do you get that individual some help?
You know, I think, too, for me, it's just volunteering more, giving more back to not just your community, but also to your family. I mean, because if we look about it, guys, this is happening in our families, in our churches, in our homes. Our law officials are, I read where they have the biggest problem the feds have with trying to get this thing, get a lock on it, is you got officials who are doing this. They got slaves right there in their home.
That's right.
You know, and these are pillars of communities. You know, but, you know, their signs are there. That you can tell when somebody's a little off-center, especially if you have, you know, this ain't somebody's child and they stand in their house and they have that much control over them. You need to look at that. You know, and if you see, like Andre said, with these kids that they go through and they have different types of behavior and they're acting strange and odd, don't talk about them. Don't talk about them, because the first thing that they said also, and I go back to thinking about all these videos that everybody posts up on social media where they're bullying. If you think about it, it's still a part of bullying also. Right. All right, those kids may not have those clothes or those shoes or whatever, because they might be in a situation that your little prima donna isn't.
And like Chantel's saying, that these numbers that are being reported, I think, are grossly underrepresented.
Right.
In fact, the Department of Justice came out with their suspected incidents of human trafficking, and those numbers are so low. There's no way that that could actually happen.
That's right.
Meaning that everything is not being reported.
Right.
So if it's not being reported, that means it's happening in somebody's community.
That's right. Because, you know, you're talking about a $150 billion industry, and they said more than 31,600 total cases of human trafficking have been reported to the hotline in the last 8 years. It's more than that.
Absolutely.
And like you stated before, I think one of the major issues is poverty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and especially internationally, because people are wanting a hope and a dream. And the reason why they want this hope and a dream is they want to get out of their poverty situations that they're in. So now they become vulnerable. Now you're here in the States, though. And in the States, poverty affects us all. And people are, and there's organizations still exploiting our poverty, our individuals in poverty. So now you've got this criminal element that's also exploiting people who are poor, wanting something different, wanting something more, and then they get caught up in these situations.
Yeah, and they said here in 2016, an estimated of 1 out of 6 endangered runaways reported to the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children were likely child sex trafficking victims. Of those, 86% were in the care of social services or foster care when they ran. Yeah. That's alarming in itself, too. So, Andre, when we're sitting here talking about these numbers, and I know you have, I think you only have one still in school, right?
Two. One in high school, one in college.
Okay, so, I mean, they're teenagers, and they're in that arena, and then you're a college student. Is she in Florida, or is she away for college?
No, she's for the University of Central Florida.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can only imagine now, after we sat here and did this research on this, that your senses have probably gotten heightened to where it's like, wait a minute, you know, I'm going to have to put the low jack out here.
Well, exactly, and it's making it a priority that I educate them, give them the resources they need, so in case something happened in their life, a situation like this would try to happen, they would know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
So I need to equip them with that.
And that's what we all need to do. Guys, you're listening to Destiny Talk Live, and we're talking about modern-day slavery.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Vince Lombardi once said that it's hard to be aggressive when you're confused. Some of us think that taking our lives to the next level, both personally and professionally, is a confusing and complicated process. Guess what? It's not, and I can prove it. My book, Truisms, will show you how living your life by rules that are so self-evident and obvious, you'll say, I knew that. This powerful yet short, detailed bestseller is on sale right now, under $10. Go to michaelmcfadden.com. That's michaelmcfadden.com, and let Truisms help you to the next level.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Destiny Talk Live, and in this segment of Knowledge is Power, I want to share with you again the hotline numbers that you can report or get help if you are a victim of human trafficking. If you want to report suspected human trafficking, dial 866-347-2423. That is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. If you are a victim of human trafficking, please dial 888-373-7888. That is the National Human Trafficking Hotline. You can also text HELP or INFO to BEFREE, Be Free, which is 233-733. If you are hearing impaired, the TTY number is 711. And lastly, if you'd like to email them, email help@humantraffickinghotline.org.
You know, guys, today we've been talking about modern day slavery. We've been talking about the warning signs that men and women should have, as well as it relates to our families. We want to make sure that we're not here to invoke fear in your life, but we want you to be simply aware. We want you to live safe and be safe. So real quick, I want my co-host to give one tip that you will give to our listeners that are listening today on our modern day slavery. So Andre, we'll start with you. One tip you would give our listeners.
Well, I just would encourage them to meet with or either write their local or state or federal government representative and let them know that you care about combating human trafficking and ask them what are they doing to address it.
Okay, I like that. Centrail?
If you are traveling to a foreign country, make sure that you are aware of some of their simple phrases and that you make yourself aware, not only in a foreign but a domestic city, that you are aware of where you can get safety, where these safety emergency resources are.
And John?
I would say to educate yourself, because these cases are common, and they're not only in the agriculture industries, but they're in construction, like we said, restaurants, healthcare. The healthcare field is a big one too, but be cognizant and educate yourself on signs to look for in terms of human and sex trafficking.
And what I would leave to our listeners today is just to educate. Educate yourself and be sure and aware of where you're going. Don't be afraid to get involved. If you see something that's not working or looks strange, report it. There's nothing wrong with reporting it. All it's going to do is send them out to have them check it out. But I want you guys to stay safe, be safe, and make sure that you are aware of your surroundings and everything that you are doing to keep you and your family members safe. I thank you again for tuning in and listening to us at Destiny Talk Live. I'm your host, Cherry G.